you're one of my, I respect you too much. I can't kill you. And so what does Donald Pierce ends up killing her instead. So it's not the same. It's not the same. She didn't go out maybe the same way as someone maybe like what is perceived as more heroic. But I would say that personally, using the examples that these women on this website proposed that of a depowered woman, supposedly that she couldn't go out in a heroic way or couldn't exemplify power in her own way, didn't read the same story I read, or read it and suppressed the argument. Again, this is the problem I have with identity politics, and this is a suppression of evidence. And they don't want to look at the fact that they didn't take the storyline in itself into account, or other storylines or different incarnations of the character. Carol Danvers does in the main canon storyline of the heroic age of heroes of Earth. I don't know what Our Earth is called, where all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe takes place and stuff like that, where the main canon takes place. I can't remember what that Earth is called, but that Earth where that takes place, when she has her black leotard and she has the lightning bolt on it and she has the red sash and the beautiful blonde hair, she has super strength. She can beat up people, and yes, she does lose her powers. But who does she lose her powers to? Another woman. The woman that she loses her powers to is Rogue. Rogue is another example of a powerful female mutant. Accurate that a lot of these examples were accurate. It wasn't. And I don't feel like it accurately presented the facts in that case. So no, I'm not a feminist. No, Fate. I'm not a feminist. I am merely. I am actually, if anything, this argument sounds more anti-feminist than it does feminist. If you know what I'm talking about. The people that say that these things are that this violence and this aggression is perpetuated towards women in such a negative way, and they are depowered and they're left as victims, and they can't overcome this. There's nothing wrong with powered, feminine heroes in comic books. I couldn't say that was accurate. That a lot of these examples were accurate. It wasn't, and I don't feel like it accurately presented the facts in that case. So no, I'm not a feminist. No, Fate. I'm not a feminist. I am merely. I am actually, if anything, this argument sounds more anti-feminist than it does feminist. If you know what I'm talking about. The people that say that these things are that this violence and this aggression is perpetuated towards women in such a negative way, and they are depowered and they're left as victims, and they can't overcome this. There's nothing wrong with feminism, just so you know. And I happen to think there's a lot of merit to their arguments. This is a critical analysis of how sexism affects both male and women's. So right now I'm focusing on the critical analysis of some of these arguments that of people saying this is sexist. In this case, it's not sexist. There have been allegations made by feminists that they've been harassed or whatever, and it has been true. And people do need to be held accountable for that. Just for the record, just so you know. I don't ascribe to identity politics, and right now I'm in the middle of discussing why identity politics are harmful to proactive discussion and solving the issues. Can a man? Yeah, a man can be a feminist. Yeah, a man can be a feminist. He can support women, and they can give voice to women, and they support them in their arguments, I suppose. In the sense that, are they feminists because they sexually identify as female? Obviously not. But you can support something and not necessarily ascribe to. I don't think there's requirements that they can't say no. Only women can be feminists, because that would be inherently sexist, and I think that would be too much, hitting the that might be way too overt for feminists to get away with, if you want to say. So to recap, we talked about how the women in refrigerators, how that was supposedly a negative portrayal of female superheroes. Now I can go down this list, but I wanted to give you a detailed analysis of one example, Carol Danvers. Why? Because she's one of my favorite heroes of all time within the Marvel universe. And I personally did not perceive her character as that way. I felt like the challenges that she went through were unique to her character, and she overcame them in a very female empowering way. And I think it stayed true to the character, and I don't think that was sexist at all. And it was these story arcs were written by men, and I don't think just because a woman develops alcoholism in a story means that it's sexism. I'm sorry, and I could go on to talk about the Scarlet Witch and a few others, but we just don't have time. And I think you guys get the picture about this whole women in refrigerators thing not being necessarily true, and how that plays into identity politics, and how that influences the industry, within the comic book industry. If you want an example how that influences the industry, you can see in examples of this why people are saying we need more female superheroes. Well, what they're doing is they're revitalizing certain heroes like Carol Danvers, and they're giving them a whole makeover, and they're changing them to fit more, like it seems like they're targeting a demographic rather than, or to appease a demographic rather than create original story content with cool female characters, which is my problem. Have nothing against powerful female characters. I just want to see original female characters, or stories that don't pander to a demographic, a small demographic of people, simply because they're outraged about something that they perceive as wrong when it's their own fucked up perception of reality. Okay, so the last concept that I wanted to talk about within identity politics, or not the last concept actually, they talked about the illusion of invulnerability. So it's the unquestioned belief that the group's morality, rationalization, So a group will. Okay, sorry. Let me redo this. So illusion of invulnerability, unquestioned belief in group morality and rationalization, and they have a stereotyped view of their opponent, and it's conformity through pressure, self-censorship within a group, and making sure individuals are afraid to speak out. And like I said, it's the illusion of unanimity and the suppression of opposing views that guide these minds. And I have given you many different examples of how these things have played out in the media, in comic books, in video games, and in movies. For those of you just joining us, I would encourage you, if you want to get like, well, what is he talking about? You're kind of coming in towards the tail end. I would encourage you guys to watch the podcast in its entirety. It's a long podcast, but there's a lot of good information in here. Hello, Conqueror. It's good to see you again. We're still on chapter 1. No. We're on chapter 3. We're almost done. The last point, one of the last points in identity politics, this is the last point that I wanted to focus on, is they tend to focus on what is wrong. Okay. Oh, actually, before I go on this, so before I said in the illusion of uniformity. Hi, Said Poss. What's up, dude? No, I've already been doing for 8 hours. So let me recap real quick, because I misrepresented myself when I was saying illusion of invulnerability, unquestioned belief in group morality, rationalization, stereotyped view of opponent, conformity through pressure and self-censorship, illusion of unanimity, and the suppression of opposing views creates what's called mind guards. So these mind guards, so the identity politics places mind guards in the view of their own group members to control their thinking in a way of proposing that does, like I said, that does not leave room for argument. Again, you can say it allegedly. We can allege that Anita Sarkeesian, for example, does not want to actually have a conversation about the issues affecting women or sexism in the media being portrayed towards women, because she has disabled all the comments on her videos. Now, Again, one could argue that she disabled those because of the insane amount of harassment she receives on a daily basis. And that is unfortunate because it stifles actual discussion like we're having right now. So but people, through those efforts that we discussed, the self-serving bias, all those things that happen, the suppression, the groupthink, all those things, they create mind guards. And again, this is something taken out of my sociology. This is straight from my textbook, not word for word, but we're the point what I'm trying to convey is that through believing, when you ascribe to identity, let's just say I am a man, so I ascribe to masculinity promotion. Let's just say I ascribe to I'm a male gamer, and so I'm going to promote Gamergate or whatever media form that's out there. Okay, let's just say I ascribe to that identity politic. Why is that bad? Okay, so when I consider myself, I identify as a male gamer. I am supposed to think and behave a certain way because I'm a male gamer. We have the illusion of vulnerability within our group. We think that we are infallible. We think that our arguments are superior. Remember, we compare them to other people. We believe that our morality is sound and that we have the moral high ground in the discussion. We also rationalize our behavior for what we're doing. Okay, so like in the Gamergate controversy, you had people on both sides attacking each other, rationalizing their behavior. You had people, anti-Gamergate people, doxing people that were supposed members of Gamergate, and then you had members of Gamergate doxing people that were supposed members of Gamergate, doxing people that were anti-Gamergate. And it went back and forth, and both of them were rationalizing, well, you did that first, you started it first, and it becomes like this you, me bullshit. That's why that's another reason why identity politics works. Stereotype view of their opponent. We've talked about stereotypes. So I could say that women are bad, but that's not the case, because we know that, like, most women are actually very reasonable and they can have a discussion. Gabby's been sitting in here promoting this conversation the entire stream. She's an excellent example of a reasonable, rational woman who doesn't always agree with me and will call me out when she feels like I'm being wrong. And we have a discussion. We have a civil discussion because we're friends and we respect each other. We don't have a stereotype view of each other. We are two people that might break the stereotype. And identity politics dictates that you need to, no, women are feminists, they're the enemy, and they don't want to, or women that don't agree with this hardline feminine stance are like, oh, well, they're so much more rational, or da-da-da-da-da. So it's easier to paint your opponent like, oh, they're sexist. They're sexist. Don't listen to them because they're sexist. They just hate. That's a stereotype, and it's not. I think what we're finding much more here in the media, what we're seeing is that people as a whole, not just women, not just men, people as a whole are just sick and tired of they identify with something like gamers. Let's just say gamers don't like Anita Sarkeesian because they feel like they are under personal attack because they play a game like Mario. Wait a minute, I'm not a sexist. I have a sister. I have a girlfriend. I love my sister. I love my girlfriend. Or a wife, or a daughter, or a mother. Like, why am I being labeled a sexist just because I enjoy playing, Metal Gear Solid? Just because I enjoy playing God of War? I'm not a sexist because I enjoy that, and this isn't promoting, like, playing God of War doesn't make me want to go bone 10 chicks. It doesn't make me want to cut the heads off of my opponents. I acknowledge that this is a realm of fantasy we're living in. I enjoy escaping the realm of reality to exist in this alternate universe where I can pretend to be someone for a while that's not me. I don't have to worry about the typical bullshit that I have to worry about my 9-to-5 job, paying bills, worrying about what I'm going to cook for dinner, worrying about taking the car into the shop, worrying about what we're going to eat, worrying about your college essay, worrying about what other people think about you. That's why this kind of shit, another reason why stereotype of view of opponent can hurt that. So conformity through pressure, people conform to an idea because they feel like members of their group, like, oh, well, if I don't say I agree, shit, I'm going to be labeled a racist. I'm going to be labeled a sexist. If I say I don't agree with that feminist. When we were talking about Matt Taylor and his shirt during that science thing, A lot of people said, I don't find his shirt offensive. You are the reason. This is the casual sexism that's involved in this society, that's perpetuated in society, that keeps me, a woman, from entering the field. This isn't just women, this happens with men.